going on? What's going on? Welcome to another Men's Table, episode 7. My name is Jeff St. James, or AKA Ask a Brother podcast. Why don't you fellas introduce yourselves?
What? My name is Darwin McPherson, the one and only, the greatest, the most significant, the most magnificent, the greatest of all time and everything that ever existed.
I'm up here talking and my mic is off. My bad. My name is Mumia Obsidian Ali. I guess you could say I'm one of the OGs of the Black Manosphere space, and I'm honored to be here with my brothers Jeff, Darwin, and Dave for the men's table. This is going to be a very difficult show.
Yeah. Well, all right. I'm Dave Anderson, lovingly known as the Business Bully, host of DAMN, Dave Anderson Morning News, best-selling author, all-around good guy, and the person who turns Darwin into his personal punching bag every week. I'm so happy to be here. I'm not a clinician. I am the resident evil thoughts in the back of your mind that you're too polite to say.
Yeah, man. Welcome, fellas. I appreciate y'all. This is our episode 7, and welcome to everybody that's watching right now. So real quick, if you have not done so, please make sure that you like this, that you subscribe to our respective platforms and channels from wherever you're watching from. And most importantly, that each of you that's watching and share this with at least 2 or 3 people, and especially with women. I think that this is a conversation that ladies need to sit in and listen in on, for sure. Obviously, today's topic is the death of Ashlee Janae. She was 31 years old, a lifestyle influencer. Ashley Robinson was her original name. Her Ashlee Janae was her online name. Apparently, she passed or died right around April 10th this year while she was on a trip to Zanzibar, Tanzania with her fiance, Joe McCann. Strangely enough, me and my wife actually went on our honeymoon to that exact same location, which is very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, well, Zanzibar, Tanzania, yeah. In terms of the circumstances of her death, just a couple quick initial reports to kind of bring us up to speed. With the initial incident, Robinson was found unconscious in her villa at the Zuri Zanzibar Resort and was later pronounced dead at a local hospital. The couple was in Tanzania, obviously, to celebrate both her 31st birthday as well as their engagement, which had taken place April 5th, just days before her death. There was apparently reports of supposed issues that resulted in a massive argument, which resulted in hotel management having to separate them and place them in different rooms. The official reports versus the family investigation. Local authorities initially were stating that Robinson had died by suicidal, actions, and specifically alleging that she hanged herself inside her hotel room. The family has some skepticism, reportedly. Her family and close friends, including her PR specialist, Savannah Britt, have publicly challenged that claim, calling her passing suspicious, and they believe Robinson was in a positive mental state following her engagement and demanding a full investigation. Up until today, up until that point, Joe McCann hadn't really been, he had not been detained. But apparently we have a new news update that we're going to play, and then the gentlemen are going to each share their initial thoughts of finding out about this news.
Update on the death of model and influencer Ashlee Robinson. She went by Ashlee Janae online. I obtained video of a news conference today in Tanzania in which officials say they are holding Joe McCann for questioning and they are holding his passport while police wait for the postmortem. We have been unable to reach Joe McCann. Now, yesterday I reported on this story. You may recall Robinson was on vacation of a lifetime in Zanzibar, an island off the coast of Tanzania in Africa. She was there to celebrate her 31st birthday with her boyfriend of about a year and a half, according to the family. Joe McCann proposed to her on that trip, but last week, something went terribly wrong. Police say Robinson was found unconscious in her villa and was rushed to the hospital, where she was later pronounced dead. Now, her parents received a call from McCann saying that something had happened, but they say it was the resort that told them about the death of their child. Again, the new information today, officials say they are holding Joe McCann for questioning and are holding his passport.
All right, fellas. We can start. Well, let's start with Dave, man. What are you thinking? What you thinking?
You know, I've seen a lot of things, Jeff, on the internet the past few days, just regarding this. And the first thing I want to say is, can we just stop being fake deep for 5 minutes? A woman is dead. Her family deserves real answers. And the last thing I want to do is turn this into a tragedy with gossip and microphones. The thing that I want to say is that you cannot spend years dehumanizing Black men and then expect those same Black men to become your emergency grief choir on command. Sympathy is human. Forced mourning is propaganda. And a whole lot of people online do not have principles. They just have favorite victims. I don't have a dog in the fight other than to say that when we start to diminish one group of individuals for another group of individuals as if that's better, we find ourselves in situations like this that are completely divisive, unnecessary, and downright evil. And my whole thing is, this is not a time to put on team jerseys. This is a time to reevaluate the game. And I'll land there for now.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. Obviously, people have been pushing and saying like, "Oh, y'all need to react to this. Y'all need to say something about this." And the things that I was seeing was exactly what you kind of noted, Dave, in terms of, this is just a complicated case. This isn't a simple somebody passed. This is how we're all supposed to react and respond. There's obviously a lot more things that we're going to be bringing up over the course of the show. But Mumia, what about you?
Since I am the senior man here, and not only in age, but also in terms of, I guess you could say, being one of the OGs of the Black manosphere, I just need to say this for the record. We're going to have a very difficult discussion because of the material that you referenced, Jeff. We all talked about this before going live tonight, but I just want to set the tone for now. Expressing my deepest condolences to the parents of the late Miss Ashlee Janae, Mr. and Mrs. Robinson. I've been looking at, there's a GoFundMe and all that set up to facilitate the return of her remains back to the United States, final expenses and things of that nature. I don't have children of my own, but I can't even imagine losing a child, especially in the manner in which this happened. I mean, this is all playing itself out on the internet, and I can't. My heart goes out to her parents, man. And wow. I mean, there's a lot to be said. Like you said, it's very complex. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this, but I just want to say to my brothers in the Black manosphere online, wherever you are, I understand where you're coming from. I do. But we can't allow our feelings to override the humanity of this sister and the grief that her parents are going through. I think we all can extend grace to that extent, and that's what I would hope for.
All right, what about you, Darn?
First of all, my condolences goes out to the family members. I don't know if they had kids or anything like that. Anybody related to these the woman who passed? It's got to be tough. Losing a life, regardless of content, regardless of what anybody said, losing a life is tough. I think she was very young. She probably had a whole lot of years ahead of her. And I think this setting right here with us, the men's table, I think now we got the opportunity to showcase that we're very different in how we handle matters like this. We've seen how those who oppose us as far as ideology, political views or whatever, can be very, very ugly towards somebody passing. One example would be Kevin Samuels. But men, us who honor him and appreciate the things that he brought into the space, we wouldn't dare do something like that on the opposing side. on the opposing side as far as like a tit for tat or something like that. So I think this is our opportunity to show that, you know, we're the bigger heroes in this situation, and we can effectively, you know, react. We can look at the details, look at the what happened, and still be sensitive towards the family members and respect the family members during this time, during their grieving. And that separation between the other side is key, because it actually sheds light on, you know, I lost somebody this past week. That's why,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
I kind of struggle to get on here.
Oh,
And
wow. Sorry to hear
I'm
that.
still feeling it too. So forgive me if I get a little bit more oversensitive in this situation, because I got something going on myself. But I still
Sorry,
wanted to
dog.
be here.
Sorry, brother. It's okay.
I'm gonna just pass the mic on that for right now.
Sorry, brother.
Yeah, man, we appreciate the fact that you're willing to still show up and do this.
Absolutely.
I just had my funeral for my cousin on Saturday, and you know, so death for me is very, very present right now. It's kind of raw, and like all of you have said, especially Obsidian and Dave, you know, I think when you lose someone recently, you can understand and see the callousness of how some people move, both obviously in comparison to the Kevin situation, and other situations that which we'll touch on in this particular situation as well. I have met and knew of some people prior to that were not only connected with her but related to her in South Jersey. So, you know, there were some people who obviously reached out to me and, you know, wanted to make it known, you know, that they had some concerns about me and us even covering it. I said, you know, we're content creators, so we are going to cover it. And we're going to cover it honestly, the good and the bad that comes with it. The most important thing is kind of what Darwin alluded to, and Obsidian as well, is I don't want us to end up mimicking and looking and sounding like the people who saw the death of a Black man as a point to celebrate. And that was, to me, the thing that definitely opened up my eyes to what the initial thing we're going to be talking about, which is the concept of this divester movement. Of course, we want this young woman and any woman for that perspective to be able to be still here, still alive, not victimized, not attacked, you know, all the normal stuff. But this underbelly subculture of anger and hatred, specifically for and towards Black men, was Ashlee Janae the worst example of what I've seen with some of the comments? No. We're going to show what some of the comments were that she made, and why it was that perhaps I think a lot of ladies find themselves into this space. And then we'll kind of react and respond to initially what is the psychology behind, what's the reasons for why some of these ladies are indeed going down this path of this is going way past just, you know, oh, I'm just open to dating anyone. It's a very specific like anger towards Black men, and them believing that the alternative or answer to that is for lack of a better word, white men. So the initial quote that I'm going to put up here, that a lot of people there was a couple that she's referenced, and this was one of them, which was actually not that long ago when she stated this. She quoted in response to somebody, "Oh brother, I see a 305 in your bio. Let's talk about all the Miami men that's not white beating their women still, or is that too touchy? Go live your life while I live mine." Undoubtedly, this individual more than likely made a comment about the fact that she was in an interracial relationship. And unfortunately, this was her reaction in response to the individual obviously she was responding to. And the secondary quote that I'm going to highlight is this one. There's nothing like men who let you rest in your femininity, obviously referencing feminine energy, obviously the man that she was with. And then the second piece was, everyday Black men wake up and find new ways to embarrass us. Now, these are just some of the quotes I found, but she built an entire platform talking for pretty much a decade, reportedly, of talking about how Black women in mass should move away from Black men completely. White men are the answer. Apparently, they're not beaters. They're apparently just better in all ways, shapes, and form. And unfortunately, now she's gone. Before we get to the psychology of how and why you think so many of our women are ending up like this and starting to think this way, what did you guys think about the initial quotes that we saw on the screen? Popcorn style, anybody can jump in.
Anybody want to jump in here?
You got it, brother. I'll come after you.
Yeah. So it was brought to my attention by a number of brothers that follow me on social media. I have very meticulous followers, brothers that, I mean, it's not unusual for something like this to happen. And brothers, multiple of them, dozens of them, will send me entire files of content that a particular individual may have done. And that was what happened here. I was sent, screenshots of the late Miss Ashlee Janae's posts and whatnot across social media, X and Instagram, so on and so forth, dating back to 2015. Okay. So we're not, it's one thing you see this happened a week ago or something like that. Fair. How do you explain this over the almost a dozen years? How do you explain it? That is a sustained pattern. I mean, that's pretty much my entire career in the Black manosphere. I got started in 2015. I mean, this is a career move. She's made career statements repeatedly since 2015 that I've seen, that I reviewed over the past few days. So this isn't a one-off. Like, if that was just a one-time, one-shot deal, I'd just like, okay, whatever. This isn't a one-off. This is a sustained pattern. And so that contributes to the discourse. And it coarsens it. It's corrosive. I mean, Jeff, look, the manosphere is under the spotlight these days, mainly on the white side. But there have been those who have said that the Black manosphere and yours truly have made statements over the years that go beyond the pale. Right? And what I would say to that is nothing we've said, nothing I've said, I got 4 books, nothing I've said competes with what I've heard on the other side, if you will, the divester or swirler or Black women's empowerment. You can kind of toss in these various descriptors. It pales in comparison to what, I mean, it's tame compared to what these ladies have said. I mean, there are images of Black men hanging from trees. There are content creators who openly call for the mass Roe v. Wading, if you will, of Black male babies. There are just the statements are just so beyond the pale. I'm like flabbergasted by how it's been able to go on this long. And so you have this type of activity by this young lady who's now deceased going on for so long. I mean, they're ready to ban us for anything. They're ready to run us off YouTube, run us off of this platform, run us off of that platform for the slightest thing. I mean, we've dealt with this, and I'm not going to go into it here, but we've dealt with this sort of thing in-house. We've been touched by this. But this sort of thing is allowed to proliferate, I mean, for over a decade with impunity. I mean, and we're not supposed, and the thing that really bothers me about this is in Black American discourse, Black women have cultural license to say the most outrageous things. And we're all supposed to just act like we don't hear it or just pretend like it's not nothing. We're just supposed to just take it, basically. Black men. They can say whatever they want, as egregious as possible. We're just supposed to just act like that doesn't mean anything. So I'm very ambivalent in this moment, because on the human in me sees I'm watching Miss Jenae's father. He's clearly pained by all of this. But then on the other side, I'm looking at over a decade of posts by his daughter. And I have to wonder, in that whole thing, Netflix had a TV program called Adolescence, right? And it was supposed to be dealing with the incel problem, what's going on with young boys, what happened with the parents, etc. Fair enough. That's fair game. I have to ask, with all due respect, to Mr. and Mrs. Robinson, what was going on with your daughter to where for over a decade she's making these posts about Black men when her own father is Black? What was going on in the home to lead to something like that? Something is seriously awry. Now, my understanding is that they're not together. Mr. and Mrs. Robinson are no longer together. Mrs. Robinson went on to remarry. She did remarry a man who happens to be white. My understanding is that they had children together. Maybe that's got something to do with it. I don't know. All I know is this sister is making these statements over a decade in length. It's documented. You don't have to take my word for it. You can look it up for yourself. It dates back to 2015. What was going on in the home?
When you say, go ahead, Dave. I'm gonna let you go, and then hopefully we can just.
Yeah, no, we're going to keep it pushing. I've always said you can't divorce the fruit of a thing from the root of a thing. You're not going to plant an apple tree and get peaches. It's just not going to happen. Behavior that is hateful is either observed or taught or experienced. Having said all of that, I think it's important to understand that we can hold somebody's choices and say these choices were not good and still say they did not deserve to die. I also think that when we talk about some of the misandrist vitriol that comes out of a lot of these individuals throughout this discourse that takes place, they are not as, I'm trying to find the right way to say this, as young, as in shape, as attractive as this young lady was. They are usually slack-jawed North American big backs. And as a result, they want you to accept them just as they are. And then when you don't, you're everything but a child of God. And then there is so much accountability for any little misstep a man makes, but there's not that same level of standard or accountability for any misstep a woman makes, especially on this side of the tracks. And I think it's important to understand that, to Obsidian's point, you're not allowed to critique them at all. Never in your entire life. If we were to take all of our ages, we're about 200 together, right? So when is the last time you've ever sat around, or we've sat around and said, well, a real woman would do this? That's not, when we say you're acting masculine, oh, we everything but it's you. Is your mama masculine? And so I do agree that it is hard and horrible to watch somebody beat you down verbally. And I will say this: I have a daughter who I love more than I can put into words, who is about this little girl's age. I love my daughters, especially my oldest. Like when I was driving, a 96 Honda Civic and going to speaking engagements, that was my road dog. I could carry her over my shoulders and take her places with me and put her to bed, And now she's grown. She's got a young man that I think she's going to wind up marrying. Never have I ever heard her say the things I hear these women say on the internet. And I think that's because both her mother and I, for all of our faults, show what it means to have a functional relationship. Not perfect, not Brady Bunch, not the Huxtables, but we demonstrate what to do, and we also demonstrate what not to do, and then how to fix the mistakes. We don't walk around like we're both walking on water and healing palsy children. I think this level of entitlement, where in one breath, the community and 50% of our community that happen to have ovaries will say they're strong and they're independent and they're so educated, but they want a provider on the first date and they want, all of these things. Those things don't make sense to me, because if we were to walk around and I was to say to you, I have a master's in divinity, I've got an MBA, I've got 3 bachelor's degrees, I have been on this show, I have done these things, I was doing this when I was 9 years old. Curly Neal called me the second coming of broadcasting when I was a kid. Does any of that make me more attractive? Or is it just a resume read for my own ego's sake? So everybody's clocking everything, but nobody is really taking any time to process, to think about the damage that words can do. See, I could sit here and I could physically beat you, and those wounds would heal. But the scars that have been left on our men, specifically our boys, because so many have made bad choices and then punished the boys for it. And then lastly, you decided that Pookie, Ray Ray, Earl, Craig, and Lamondre, or better yet, Chadwick, who happened to have the bag for whatever reason, but still dogged you out, left you with something that you weren't prepared for. And you say this person is now not worthy of you. You're automatically celibate, but then you come with baggage that we're supposed to take, and there's no carry-on space on the plane we're going on. And because we want to move from that, we're wrong. So in this moment, I want someone to be able to reflect on how great it is when you get with somebody palm colored and then this tragedy happens. How wonderful it is to get with somebody who allows you to rest in your feminine, but all of a sudden may or may not have taken 11 hours to inform your family of what happened. I think we need to really start looking at the facts objectively and start saying to ourselves, maybe what we need is to come together with a little bit more understanding and a whole lot less I ain't doing this, Rasputia, how you doing energy. And I give it to Darwin.
I mean, I ain't really got much on it, man. The comments, that the posts or the things that she posted, I'm gonna be honest with you. This was the first time I saw those. I don't know if she's an inspire, influencer, content creator, and she built a brand off of that. I think Mr. Ali alluded to that. But if she did, it didn't come up in my algorithm. I'm not saying that it ain't had no weight or had no significance, just because I didn't see it, but I don't know. I can't really confirm unless you guys shed light on it, on some of the things that she actually said, that y'all would say she kind of built a brand or a following or inspiration off of going at black men. But just looking at it from my peripheral or my viewpoint, she's with a white man. So, or she was with a white man, rest in peace. But it makes sense. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Just about every black woman that I see that is in a relationship with a white man, they typically go against the grain. They typically attack black men or, relationships that are normal. You know what? I don't even want to say normal because they're going to attack me for saying that that's normal. But I tend to see them have a disdain for black on black relationships. And, they get attacked. They also get attacked. We can't be biased about this. We do know even black men, whenever they walk across the stage and collect that hat and become an NFL or an NBA player, and they got a white girl in the stands rooting them on. Those men get attacked. I think anybody who dates outside of the race is just gonna get the heat. That's just it. It is what it is. But when men are doing it, I do not see men coming on behind a microphone and then just bashing the other side. I think the last guy I've seen online that got exposed for it wasn't even dating a white woman, it's actually dating a single mom. Shout out to Cooley from No Fugazi. He didn't, with his presence and influence, you don't see him attacking the other side so much to where he's trying to push black men to date white women. So I don't know any cases where I see black men who would date white women or get in a relationship with white women and try to pull black men out of date black women or try to put it on a pedestal higher than the other relationships. I just don't see it. So that's if that is what she was doing, then that's ridiculous.
Jeff, you're muted.
You
bro.
muted, Jeff.
She was never on my algorithm until this week. I obviously didn't follow or wasn't connected, I guess, to people who were pushing it. But I think when it comes to the psychology of the divester movement and even mindset, I think the initial issue for why people even feel as conflicted and perhaps why people aren't saying she's the worst thing ever is because I think that there's definitely a spectrum of ladies that kind of fall into this bucket. I think when ladies first, the initial thing is like, typically it's maybe more or less women that's just been very disappointed, hurt, disappointed with the caliber of black men that they've been exposed to, tried to work things out with, maybe even had children with, and it just hasn't been working. Maybe in their teens, maybe even their 20s, maybe even into their 30s. And now they're just like, you know what, this isn't working. I'm just going to try something different. They're not carrying hatred. They may not even be carrying bitterness. They may have the residual frustration, but now they're just open to newer opportunities, trying something different, newer culture, different type of men, different environment. This is effectively no different than the Passport Bro movement. When you think about it, they're just trying something different, than what they're used to, right? And same thing with guys that are dating women from outside of their racial groups, cultural groups, nationalities or whatnot. That doesn't inherently mean that they just hate the people that look like them. They just, for whatever reason, may have just had more success dating out. The second tier to me, when I've been thinking about this for a little bit, is the people who also have the residual anger, bitterness, and resentment. These are the people who are prone to doing what many of the influencers, especially the more prominent divester ones, do, where they make a whole bunch of comments where they're constantly trying to highlight and frame and try to convince other black women. It's not just what I'm doing for myself. I think you also need to give up on black men.
Right. And I just wanted to jump in on that point, if I may.
Yeah.
My weapon of choice as an AI assistant is Grok. And while my brother Jeff was speaking, I decided to do a little quick Grok search. I just want to read the following. I asked Grok, is it true? Just to get the accurate information is very important here. Is it true or accurate to say that the recently deceased social media influencer, Miss Ashlee Janae, was a divestment influencer? Please explain and elaborate. Grok responds, quote, yes, it is accurate to describe Ashlee Janae, real name Ashlee Robinson, as a divestment influencer, or more precisely, a soft life divester. More on that in a moment. Though with some important context about that label and what it means and how it applied to her. How the divestment influencer refers to here. In certain online spaces, particularly within segments of Black women's dating and lifestyle discourse on platforms like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and X/Twitter, divestment or divesting is a specific term. It describes the intentional choice by some Black women to divest from dating or partnering with Black men, often framed as rejecting perceived toxicity, lower resources, or other intra-community issues, and instead pursue relationships with non-Black men, frequently white men, who are seen as offering better treatment, financial stability, and an easier soft life, luxury, leisure, and reduced struggle. Proponents often tie this to self-empowerment, hypergamy, and escaping what they view as systemic disadvantages in Black dating dynamics. Critics call it divisive, anti-Black, or fetishizing. It is not a mainstream or universally accepted movement, but it has dedicated influencers, communities, and backlash. Now, she has somewhere between 100 and 130,000 followers on Instagram alone. She does have a presence on TikTok. News outlets like BET and multiple reports describe her as soft life divester or Miami-based lifestyle influencer and self-described soft life divester. That's BET. She was in a visible, high-profile interracial relationship with a wealthy white man, Joseph McCann, crypto investor, and also head of a tech startup. That's my understanding of that. And it goes on from there. The summary is, in short, the label fits based on her own self-description, per reporting, her content and relationship, and how she was positioned in online discourse. It's not a slur here. It's a descriptor used in the exact subculture she operated in. Her tragic death doesn't change the factual accuracy of how she was known. If you're seeing the term in recent posts about her, that is why it's being applied. There were 45 sources that were aggregated by Grok on this. And I'll also say this briefly, and we talked about this earlier today. I actually wrote a book about this. This was not about divesting per se. This was a book that I wrote for Black women called The Book of Obsidian, the ladies edition. I wrote it 4 years ago, published it 4 years ago. There is a chapter in the book called The Swirling Wars, and it deals with this issue of what they call today divesting. Back then they call it swirling. Now they call it divesting. Same thing, different label. And I had centered in particular one Miss Crystalline Karazin, who's also known as the Pink Pill. She's kind of like the mother of all of this. Has been around on YouTube for a very long time. She predated me. I came along in 2015. She had already established the beachhead. She's been around since, well, I don't know, 2010, something like that. Like Dave said, I mean, this is where you see the fruit of a thing. And it's very, very, very tragic.
And I appreciate that because and you acknowledge both the history of it, the nuance of it. My main point, and we're going to react to a couple clips, is the women that are falling into this space. It's kind of no different than like the discussions and arguments about what's actually happening in the manosphere, where everybody has, you know, pickup artists and game and just intersexual dynamics between men and women. It's all these different things that men are orienting and going to this space for. It's also the case when it comes to the umbrella term of quote unquote divesting. Now, my view is this stuff can range on the far end with, especially with what Grok said. On the far end of it, it's anti-Black, it's misandrous, right? It's anti-Black male. And but the problem is that I think that there's ladies who they have varying reasons for how they get there and what their conclusions are about how they feel about men. Some of them, it's not actual hatred. Some of it is like, Dave mentioned it. Lack of opportunities, just lack of attraction. I'm gonna be playing a video of a particular woman, and we're gonna kind of see that there is some noticeable nuanced differences, and we got to be careful because I don't want to do to even the quote unquote ladies that are quote unquote dating out or doing something different than just dating another black man, do to them what they tend to do to us.
Yeah.
Right. So the first example I'm going to play is a woman who basically acknowledged that she's tried and wanted to date black men, and she's kind of accepted the fact that that's probably not on the table for her, and she explains why.
Black guys I would be into who talk and act white are probably only into white girls and don't want to give me a chance because I'm black. So why does it bother me to see black men with white women? Is it jealousy? Maybe, but starting from the time I was a teenager, I'm very, very distinctively being told by the black boys that white girls are superior, that they're better, they're prettier, their skin is prettier, their hair is prettier, even their downstairs hair is smoother and better, it's softer, and they're more obedient. And so, of course, I started to feel a certain way towards interracial relationships between black man and white woman. Now, of course, I don't think that there's anything wrong with the black man dating a white woman. There is nothing wrong with that. And I do not agree with some women when they say that they're doing it because of they hate black women or because they hate themselves. I don't see it that way. I'm pretty sure some of them do. Yeah. But I can't help but look at them and remember being told that black women are inferior and white women are superior. And that really stuck with me. I mean, that's very hurtful. And yeah, every time I see an interracial couple with a black man and a white woman, I can hear that in my head. And so, yeah, it's kind of a jealousy. It's kind of a bitterness, but it's coming from a genuine place of hurt and betrayal. And so because of the way I act and the way I talk, I will probably never end up with a black man, ever. And that's not going to be by choice. That's just probably how it's going to turn out. This comment was
Black women, if you want to date outside of your race, you need to be disciplined. When they say we're going to the gym at 5:30 in the morning, you better be up at 5 o'clock getting ready. They are not going to deal with the lack of discipline, and what we make black men put up with, they are not going to go for that. And what
right
we make black men put up
Stop
with,
the tape. Now that was interesting because we know in the black community, not all black women, obviously, but clearly a plurality have a weight problem. It has been documented to hurt relationships. And it's not scientific. I want to be careful with this. I have heard, I've actually witnessed black women say, I'm not going to do thus and so for no black man. I'm not going to get on no treadmill for no black man. I'm not going to put in 10,000 steps for no black man. I'm not going to get on a bike for no black man. I'm not going to do a stair stepper for no black man. I ain't doing that. But when it comes time to get with a white guy and they say, Jim is 0530, 0 dark 30, they right there on the spot. Now, we're just supposed to accept that. Now, mind you, us brothers, like you will never, my brother Dave, case in point, my brother Dave
Yes, sir.
had a weight problem. He addressed it. He didn't say, I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that. He went and did what he needed to do to get the weight off. At the conclave, we have brothers there that have lost 100. They were so motivated by our brother Shannon Rawls, our chief operating officer. They were so motivated because he's really into fitness. They were so motivated by them that they dropped 100 pounds in a year and made it happen. Now, the ladies, they're on board with that. They want brothers with rock hard abs. They want brothers that live in the gym and eat like a rabbit. But when it come time for them to do something, I ain't doing that. But get Mr. Charlie in there. Oh, yeah, they right there. 0 dark 30. Before the cock crow, here they are, ready to go to the gym.
Man. So let me finish playing this, and then we'll react.
They are not going to go for that. And what we make black men put up with, they are not going to go for that. What we make black men put up with, they are not going to go for that.
I've dated a white man. I married one. I have the experience. I'm done. Y'all are not going to like this, but I'm saying it. Y'all can say I'm a hypocrite. Y'all can say you can't talk, blase, blase, blase. In this country, the way it is set up, okay, black men need to be with black women. If we lived in a perfect world where racism and Jim Crow laws and racism didn't exist, I wouldn't give a fuck. Because then love could be love. But at this, where we are right now, no, y'all gonna be like, oh, but Amber, I was lost in the sauce. I did not know no better. And I always take it. I always go, you know what? You're right. I did it wrong. I did not do what I am preaching to do right now. If you are dating exclusively white women, you need to go to therapy, okay? And unpack that self-hatred that you got. You have a low racial self-esteem. It should be an honor to be with a black woman. It should be a privilege to be with a black woman. It should be standard. It should be traditional to be with a black woman.
I judged black men growing up. I was young, dumb, and stupid, right? From senior year of high school, until 3 years worth of college, I was, I was swirling. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was definitely swirling. Okay. And there was a part of me at one point in time where I thought, when you see me with a white man, you know that I'm that type of black girl. And I don't know what type of black girl that I was thinking in my head, but I was thinking.
By the way, we could tell, but we're going to continue. Let's
keep it moving.
It meant something, right? But again, there was a very unhealed part of me that had to really, really, reprogram my mind and understand myself in another depth. The connection I have with white men can never equal the connection that I have with black men, right? Like it just will never equal. There's just something that's just always going to be divided, right? And I feel like that's just me personally, how I look at it. There's just something magnetic between black men and black women when they are in union with each other. Like you cannot match the chemistry, the energy, the passion between a black man and a black woman compared to a black woman and a white man. That's just my personal opinion. Something that I see a lot.
How is it possible to be such in simpatico with a black man when she got that fake the funk Storm from X-Men wig on her head? What we're not
going to do is disparage one of the greatest Marvel superheroes who has ever lived. Because Storm's hair is actually her hair.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
She commands the wind.
First of all, part of her mutation.
Yeah, but what I need you to understand, Obsidian, is Storm's hair was never stiff. Never. She couldn't get her hair from Temu. Okay. Jeff, roll the tape.
On social media, especially on this app, when it comes to black women speaking on their experience of dating white men and sharing their experience on this app, that they bash black men in the process. And this is even something that I used to do. And I had to learn from it and understand why I was doing that. And that's just through, trauma healing and therapy and all that good stuff. I've had more white men do me dirty than I've had black men. And I'll be the first to admit that. Now where I'm at in my season and through my own journey, I personally know that I do not want to date white men ever again. And I'm okay with that. And that's just me personally, right? I want a black man.
How are you pro-black woman, but you don't believe in procreating black women? Y'all notice that? Y'all notice how many pro-black woman pages promote swirling, promote black women expanding their options to non-black people? But then you want to sit here and act like you're pro-black woman? Basic pro-anything 101 is believing in their existence. Like, if you want black women to exist, that still requires two black people getting together. Because also these same pro-black women are going to want to sit at biracials and be like, oh, that's a biracial. She don't fit in this group. So y'all have all these standards that what really makes a woman black. But then some of these same ladies will really sit up here and be like, they need to expand their options though. So it's like, you say that you're for a black woman, but you don't believe in procreating black women. That don't make any sense. Like the logic is not there. Like when you start to just try to look at things just from a purely logical standpoint, and you're like, this actually doesn't make.
Listen, I'm going to 50 million abortions.
Well.
I think now the reason why I wanted to play the spectrum of all these different ladies, they all had different, radically different reasons, explanations for how they got there, what they tried, what they were angry with. The first lady, I think that was the first woman or so, she was like, she didn't even have the anger. She just, maybe it was her looks, maybe it was her aesthetics, maybe it was her weight, who names it. Like black men. Now she had a caveat, the black men that she wanted didn't want her. And then she ends up dating out and concluding that may not, me ending with a black man may just never be the thing for me. I mean, that may just never happen. And then you saw each lady having very nuanced distinctions. And the interesting thing was the last three, well, prior to the last one we just saw, that the other three ladies consecutively, they all talked about trying it, being interested in it. One even acknowledged that she had even way more negative experiences with white men than she did with black. And they all found their varying ways of quote unquote coming back. And I think that that's a lot of times what's happening in the quote unquote divester space, right? This isn't as simple as they all just want the worst thing possible for black men. Obviously, there's some that do. The people are all in the chat talking about how often that they've called us bullet bags, bragging about male gender-based abortions, wishing that the cops would take a black man out, cheering whenever a black man is demise, when he reaches his demise. I've gotten to a point when I've recognized, I'm going to say this out loud, and I want you guys to respond both to what I'm about to say now and also to the initial clips and stuff that we saw. When we get to a point or place where 2 weeks ago, when we all had a conversation and people were talking about this whole support black women, protect black women, and I said, which ones should we be protecting?
That's still trending on my Facebook, as a matter of
Which
fact.
one should we be defending? This is the exact topic. This is the exact reason why. Because there are women. It's just not about whether they like me professionally or they're attracted to me. There's black women that walk around that think that their hatred of black men doesn't count as anti-blackness. Their definition of anti-blackness is if it affects men that's in the LGBTQ and black women. If it's a hatred or misandry or wishing the worst thing possible, you want him to get accused of something, you want him to lose all his resources, his fine because he's dating a white woman. You comfortable with them dying. You're wishing the police take care of them. Gender-based abortions. Why would I want to try to protect women or mourn or even try to fake mourning and grief for women that I know think like this? And the worst part is, it's not just the women who have the mindset. It's the women who don't have the mindset but are still cool with them, who still befriend them, who still hang out with them, who still act like this isn't what it is. The best way I can articulate why my view is when I say specifically which type of black women are you talking about, this is the equivalent of y'all looking at me and being like, Jeff, I'll be cool with you, but you keep hanging out with these Klansmen. And I'm saying, Klansmen, they're not a bad deal. There's nothing wrong with them. And they're saying, Jeff, it's a Klansman. They're literally anti-us.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're telling other women, do not date, do not procreate, they're not even saying go find other black men elsewhere in the country, other country. They're saying don't deal with black men globally. Almost, I would say 98% of the time, I have never heard a black man say that.
No.
Even when picking up passports.
As a matter of fact, Jeff,
I've never heard black men say, do not deal with any woman that's your shade, your skin color.
But as a matter of fact, when black men do get passports, The three most popular destinations for American black men that get passports are the Dominican Republic, Colombia, and Brazil. All three of which have significant Afro, if you will, Afro-Latin populations. They are part of the Afro diaspora. Black men want black women. If brothers could go all the way to Africa, Africa is very expensive, very time-consuming. You're going halfway around the world. If more brothers could do that, they would. It's just more feasible to just go right in our backyard. Brazil's got like 100 million black people there. The only other place on planet Earth that has more people than Brazil is Africa itself, black people. So black men, when they get passports, the vast majority of them do want black women. They're just not just American black women for reasons we can go into, but they definitely want black women. It's relatively few brothers get a passport and they want to get a woman that's not black. That's a common misconception, but it's not true.
Save yourself, black man, is not I wish harm to black women. And that is the missing link that when we've been trying to explain, do you know how many black men are dead or in jail because of black women?
Oh my gosh. So you mean to tell me there's a lot of real G's doing time because a groupie bent the truth and told a lie?
And despite that, I'm telling you, I don't walk around, I don't see black men in mass or even I almost never see it. I don't see black men having this type of energy. Now, people will say, because we'll get to the stats towards the tail end about the femicide rates and the black on black crime and all this other stuff. The issue is we have a subculture of black men that are very hyper violent and hyper aggressive towards our women. And if and when the police can find out who they are and where they are, they get taken care of. We have black women with this mindset who do not present their aggression in the same way these black men that are criminals do. So you can have a mindset where you wish the worst, want the worst, and are willing to co-sign and jump on bandwagons to attack, destabilize, destroy black men's legacies. And you can get what you need done in the womb, so you ain't got to get no handcuffs on you. Darwin, what you thinking, brother?
Well, that first woman in the video, I think she was lying. I think she was full of shit. Full of crap. Sorry about that. But
why you say that?
She was talking about when she was in school. I don't know if she said high school.
Oh, yeah, the light-skinned sister.
The light-skinned John,
yeah. But I know in high school, you talking about high school boys, she's black boys who've been around. They don't use terms like white women are more superior or you're inferior. That's not even in their language. They're not even at that level of that deep in terms and in the differences in races at that level. So I know she was lying. There's a translation. And I think they was referring specifically to her. Hey, look, these white sisters over here look better than you. You know, they way lesser than you. They finer. And she didn't really go levels deep into why she was jealous, because she said she think it was jealous. Like, what are you jealous of? You know, you're jealous of Katie and Becky. You know, what is it that she didn't expound on that really? So I think she was just lying. She was just all over the place. But this thing about protection, I know you mentioned something about black women saying that we need to protect them. Like, what does that even look like? How do you protect and this is something I'm genuinely asking the question, if y'all can answer it. How do you protect black women today? And what does that even look like? Especially when black women don't even look to us as their leader, as their head. The only black women I see protecting is the one that's under your covering, the one that's your significant other. Any black woman outside of that, it's almost unrealistic to even try to render any protection. And I don't even know what it looks like, and I don't even know where it starts. Can you even tell how do you protect somebody whenever you try to give them guidance or direction? They don't have to yield to it. There's no way you can protect anything like that. So that's a genuine question. I don't understand. Maybe y'all have a different understanding of what they mean when they say that y'all need to protect us. Because if you go ahead, Dave. Maybe
I'm sorry, Darwin. Yeah. Here's the thing. Two things I want to say. The first is this comes down to, let me put this in terms that everybody can agree on and understand. Back in 2020, when all of a sudden the movement, not the corporation, but the movement Black Lives Matter came up, and those who were not Black started to say all lives matter. To Jeff's point, when people say save yourself, Black man, that doesn't mean, well, what about Black women? It's as ridiculous when somebody says, hey, I'm talking about the AIDS crisis, and they say, well, what about cancer? Now, when it comes to Darwin's point, and we're dealing with these people who say that they're not protected, how can you lead someone who does not want to bend to your leadership because they have been told they're superior by the CIA operative named Gloria Steinem and various and sundry minions? Well, the best way to lead someone like that is to allow them to fall in the hole and then dig themselves out. And when they've been battered and bruised enough, when they have been bombed out and depleted, when they have been ran through by Sharavius and Montel or Willie, well, then they're ready to listen. There's a episode of Family Guy where he had to get in touch with what was happening to women in Quahog, and the woman says to him, it's like trying to pull, like childbirth is like trying to pull your bottom lip over your head. And he fell from a tree and his bottom lip got pulled on his head. And he said, now I understand. And she said, now the healing can begin. Sometimes you have to let somebody take the ass whipping you've been trying to prevent them from having in order for them to understand that they need some straightening. If you have the ability to submit to your boss, if you have the ability to get up at 5:30 in the morning for Brad, Trevor, Liam, or Biff, then you can do it for Andre, Darwin, Mamiya, Jeff, and you ain't got to do it for Dave. I got my own, but the willingness to do that is something else. Also, after a while, if you don't want to listen, there are plenty of Black women who will. And I'm not going to sit on this panel and act like there aren't, because we know that there are. I know at least 75% of this panel, even though we may have some problem times with our wives, have wives that are willing to listen. Otherwise, we would not be with them. But everybody ain't like that. You know how they say it takes a village to raise a child? In every village, there's a village idiot. And that's an underestimation. I think the majority of the people in the village are idiots. And the only way they get from being an idiot to being worthy of protection is they have to stop being so uncoachable. And the only way to do that is for them to fall on their heads. They have to take the lessons because they think going out there is going to change something. I'm going to say it like this, and this is my last explanation to you, Darwin. I remember once telling my mom, I've been working since I was 9. I know what I'm doing. I got this. Then I went out into the world. 34 cities, 19 states, television, radio, film, stand-up, all these different things, trying to figure some things out. I've been there, done that, all of the things. And it was not until I had my 2 little girls that I would pick up the phone and I would call my mom. And I say, hey, mom, you remember when in 86 when I broke that lamp and you said one day, bop, 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 bop. I said, well, damn, Devlin did the darnest thing. And it reminded me of that time you tried to tell me and I didn't listen. And she would laugh all the way in Arizona and hang the phone up. And I call her a couple days. I said, Mom, why you hang the phone? Yeah, because I had no idea what you're talking about because, I remember telling somebody who looked like you what it was. But see, now you get the lesson because you had to see your children do the same things to you that you used to put me through. They don't get it by us telling them. See, white women are trained to understand. And this is not me pedestalizing white women at all. I got a Black woman at home, locks longer than mine. But white women culturally are trained to obey. There's a hierarchy, whether it is Jewish women, Italian women, Indian women, Chinese women, they are all looking at the father as the head. And so when they marry, they treat their husband as the head. And they're not saying, well, he has to be a leader right now because 90% of y'all can burn Kool-Aid in an air fryer. So while you're looking for leadership, you have to be willing to be a great follower. And you can't be a great follower if you're so hyped up, pumped up, and believe that you're strong and independent. But I digress. What the hell do I know? I'm a pro wrestler, for Christ's sakes.
I mean, I don't even think black women protected Jonathan Majors.
Yeah. And again, we're actually going to jump on that pretty quickly when it comes to what's happening when black men are involved in situations and scandals or even resulting in death of themselves, and they're with, non-black women, and seeing this shift in energy where I'm reading the comments of droves and droves of black women saying, what she said wasn't that bad. She's still a human being. At the end of the day, she still deserves, whatever. They can see her humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Despite whatever actions and things she's done, or how she's moved, or how she's built up her platform. I'm not upset with their ability to see Ashlee's humanity. I want them to. I want our men to. I want them to use this moment as a picture to reevaluate if they have the capacity still to show up and see the black men that are dating and dealing with non-black women, and realize, why can't y'all extend the same thing? That first lady, Darwin, that you mentioned, did you notice that she said her feelings about it were only based on interracial relationships that involved a black man with a white woman and not the other way around? I think that there is an empathy gap with our women right now when it comes to when they see a relationship or they see a man. There's a territorial, jealous, jaded, whatever it is that's driving this. When that man loses something, his resources, his legacy, great public image, his family, his friends, his life, you laugh. You see it as a time to celebrate. Wear t-shirts joking about the man being gone. But when we try pointing this shit out, y'all act like you're trying to gaslight an entire generation of black men and act like we don't see what we're seeing. Y'all view of humanity and y'all view of anti-blackness is based on whether or not it is or isn't happening to a man or a woman. This person just wrote, and this is a great question. Thank you, Eric, Eric Alexander for the 99. To the gentleman on the panel, is there any explanation for women who had positive male figures in their lives, like dads, uncles, brothers, and male friends, etc., but still end up as anti-black misandrous when they had all the examples of the men who they should be with?
That's a good question. I'm going to
tell you this.
This
is an excellent question. I think that we downplay the power of the media, social media, music, women's need to fit into groups and not wanting to be outliers. The socialization impact on women when it comes to their psychology. Women move more as group thinkers, generally speaking. And when the environment and the culture is now more anti-men, is now so pro-feminist to the degree where we're now questioning whether or not we need men at all. Is having a boyfriend embarrassing? Now you don't want to be the woman who's standing out, who's being called a pick-me, who's being called male-centered. They're coming up with shaming language for women saying and doing and moving in ways that are healthy and that men are attracted to and want. As a result of this is now what happens. It doesn't actually matter what their damn home training was, what they came from, and whether or not they've even been through nothing with most guys. It's who are the women that's around them? Who are the women that they're being influenced by? That now is a greater factor that as men, we now have to look. I can't just look at the family you come from. I have to look at the girlfriends you've adopted and brought around yourself now. I can no longer go off if she's coming from a 2-parent household. Is she coming from a church? That don't mean nearly as much as who's the women that she's gravitating to and listening, because who's she going to run to when we do have problems? Is she going to run to women that speaking life, or is she running to women who have black misandrist mindsets, who are anti-family, anti-marriage, and pro-divorce.
Well, think
So
about it.
that's why I think that this is happening. But what about you guys?
Think about it like this. It's a good question, obviously. But there's no really way to phrase it. But let me just use a sitcom from the 90s. And ask y'all, frame a question. On a scale from 1 to 10, what is the likelihood of a woman, a black woman that has the lifestyle, not necessarily that extreme, but just similar to Hillary Banks? Could you really see Hillary Banks leave from Uncle Phil and what is his mother name?
Vivian.
Vivian.
Yeah.
And not have a likelihood of cleaving to a white man? Just based off of the atmosphere in the house and the lifestyle, the way they talk,
Community,
you know, the prestige judge.
Yeah.
You know, they insulated by wealth. It just seems like whenever they go down to the hood, they're gonna be like, oh, wow, they're gonna be awkward. You know what I'm saying? So if a black woman, I think the likelihood of a black woman that's coming from a typical setting like that will probably feel awkward around the hood. You know, the real niggas. Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? It just, I don't know if y'all see it that way, but it just, whenever I see the persona of a black woman, similar to like the what is her name again? Hillary, right?
Hillary.
It just almost feel like that she would probably be with a white dude, and she would most definitely go to a PWI. You know what I'm saying? And end up being, you know, having things in more common with white brothers, or even friends with white girls. And it might be a stereotype. I might be an extreme stereotype, but that's just the lens I'm seeing it from them. I might be reaching with it though.
Nah, like, well, what you're saying is a lot of this is environmental. A lot of
hold on before you go. In contrast,
yeah.
If you take what was the girl name that came from Pops and What You Call Off of Friday? What was her name?
You talking
Craig's
about the
sister?
Nia Long character? What was it?
No, it wasn't Nia Long. That's the girlfriend. It was the sister. She come in every now.
Regina King?
Yeah, Regina King. I don't see her with a white dude. You know what I'm saying? I see her coming. You know, she probably go to HBU, CU. She probably date a black man. But if you look at those two in contrast, then you might be able to see what I see as far as the likelihood of them going white or staying within their culture based off of the setting they came from. So I think that has a lot to do with it whenever they be coming. Oh, I don't date the brothers. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, that's a part of it, but I've seen the opposite. I've seen women that came, like you said, like the guy just said, they come from great backgrounds and then they run to the thug.
Yeah.
Right? So that
I've seen
happens
that too.
all the time. And I've lived in both the hood and the projects and in the suburbs. And I'm telling you, all three of those categories, 80% of the women was looking for that type of guy at one point. And for me, I'm gonna say it again, the combo of their own immaturity, the when they're younger and thinking they have the options, the seeking out the thrill and the exciting guy who's very charismatic and all this other stuff, on top of the type of women that they're surrounding themselves with, when they have that many negative experiences with those types of men, or worse, they surround themselves with women where they don't even need those past negative experiences to still act and talk that way. Now you get women that's married to good men and still hop on social media and still talk this way because they're trying to fit in to the girl sister code, to the sisterhood. This is what I meant about the group think part. You do, as a woman, you don't want to be the pariah. You don't want to be socially ostracized because you're the one that's talking about being in a good relationship when your other girlfriends can't even get a good date. You got a stable home and women are now talking about them being ashamed to share things because they don't want to come off as boasting about the positive things happening in their relationship. So they'll say nothing or they'll shit on men now. That's what they feel like is the choice now. So the girl that was doing the dance where she was showing her ring and be like, oh, I'm engaged, I'm getting married, da, 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 da. And she said, and they told me not to do this. They told me not to wash his clothes. They told me not to do the laundry. They told me.
Wow.
She is saying it is now countercultural for women, and specifically Black women, to now want a actual healthy marriage and to say that out loud, especially to a Black man. That's now countercultural. So that's what's going on. There is an ideological push that's pushing women to be anti everything that's necessary for our people to survive as a group. And they're falling for it in droves. Well, me and Dave, of course, y'all can respond to that question.
This is something I've seen up close and personal in my own life. I agree with you that the whole herd thing, you know, Kevin used to talk about this. Single women keep women single. And it takes a really, you know, we talk a lot about strong, independent Black women. You know, actually, a lot of Black women aren't that very strong at all. They're actually rather weak. I mean, you have to have toughness as a quality of the mind. This is true for both men and women. And it really takes a tough system mentally to be able to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff and not be influenced by her. And by the way, this is no respecter of age. You would think that this is something for younger women. No, I've seen this happen with women in their 60s. So this is, and I'm not proud to say that, but yeah, I mean, this is, I really do think that this is a quality of the mind. If you have a weak mind, then you're susceptible to getting the Jedi mind trick ran on you. You know,
bro, ain't Leslie Jones like 60 years old still talking about
she's hovering in
slavery right now?
Yeah, she's hovering in that.
Come on now.
Realm. Yeah.
It's the new it, and this the worst part. It's the new it thing. I said this to somebody yesterday. It's the new it thing right now for female celebrities, influencers to keep going viral. Just male bash, husband bash, boyfriend bash. You're gonna go viral. You're guaranteed. That's the new it trend right now. And let's go ahead, Dave. My bad.
No, you're good. I think, and I want to be very clear when I say this. We never look at who's pulling the strings. And I'm not talking about the puppeteers. I'm talking about the purse strings. Jeff, you made a very interesting point when you talked about culture. And when we talk about culture, culture is something that is practiced traditionally, and it is something that can be shaped, molded, manipulated. You know, the old Black grandmas, when a baby would pop out, what they would do is they would shape the head because, you know, cradle cap and so on and so forth. What has happened is our culture is the only culture in America that is globally consumed, but is not locally controlled by anybody who looks like us. So if all you see is, you know, I remember the Govan sisters on an episode of Basketball Wives say, white is right. You got, and not to stay on the basketball thing, but you got people like Matt Barnes telling Stephen A. Smith, you know, he's doing damage to Black people. Bro, you live in a gated community and you got better hair than the Soul Glow guy. We have gotten ourselves to a point where we're not even questioning the people behind the gate, but we're obsessed with who the gatekeepers are. And then we're upset that our women are taking this in when every single product, every single service, and every single message has been handcrafted to make them automatically think that we are the bottom of the barrel, the worst of the worst, unless we have the demon number 666. You know what I mean when I say that? Right? So if you got one person who's worth 230 plus billion, you got, and that's Zucks, you got Bob Iger running Disney, which is ABC, Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN, Star Wars, and all that type of stuff. Hell, did you see the new Star Trek? Name a strong Black man in that show. You can't. Brian Roberts, who I met with when I told him streaming was coming, he looked at me like I was crazy. He runs Comcast, which is NBC Universal, Peacock, Bravo, MSNBC, all that good stuff. Then you've got, you know, the folks at Spotify. Sherry Redstone is still running Paramount, and Paramount just bought a bunch of stuff. There's all of these things. Hell, Netflix controls The Breakfast Club. And you can't stop them from consuming it, even the smart ones. Hell, there's a girl named Amanda Cerny who you would never be able to pick up out of a lineup, you know, who is with the streaming network, the one with the baddies. I don't know what you call it, but the thing of it is, a lot of these folks do not look
Zeus
like
Network?
us. Thank you. A lot of these folks do not look like us, but they continue to profit off of us, and we never question why they're doing it, because they have us so busy fighting each other and so busy talking about who is this and so busy talking about Kevin Samuels. Hell, Kevin Samuels died before my brother died, and my brother's been dead since 22. When you understand that not only can you not divorce the fruit of a thing from the root of a thing, you can't talk about the harvest without talking about the farmer. Who's harvesting? Who's planting the seeds, and who's controlling the messages? Because last thing, what did J. Edgar Hoover say? The worst thing that could happen is the rise of a black messiah and strong black families. What's the quickest way to destroy strong black families? Oh, I don't know. Let's create a weapon of mass distraction called reality television, where you have women who are strong and independent and educated audition to be on a TV show, and the way they audition is not by their talent or creating some type of monologue. No. Let's see who can beat the brakes off of this one. Let's have one called Roly Poly. Let's have another one who looks like Biggie. Let's call her Biggie and let's just have her go at it. Hell, we got Meatball running around. So now you got a slack-jawed North American big back who looks like Alice the Goon running around talking about in school they told her that white women were superior. But she didn't take into fact. That's why I miss Kev. Because Kev would play that, and as the recovering fat ass on the panel, that's not me being hateful. That's me being observant. Life is different when you start to prioritize your health, and life is different when you start to prioritize your body. The way I get treated now versus what I looked like when I had a 72-inch waist and a 7X shirt, I've lost more X's than Lori Harvey on a dating app. There is a difference, but when they control the message, they control the culture. And when they control the culture, they control your minds. When they control your minds, they ain't got to worry about what the body's going to do. It's going to follow. That's why they shed their clothes and spread their legs for, what is it now? Divestment. Because you know what divestment means from a business perspective. It means that they are no longer investing in selling off something that is non-essential and has proven to be of ill use. So that's what they're saying every time they say they are divesting from black men. Let that sit in and then tell me why you want us to protect you then.
Now, again, because I already know how this chat's going to work when it, especially if it comes to the ladies, it's like, well, why don't you focus on the violence that happened to her? Or why don't we put more attention on the potential violence? Let me say that again. The potential
I'm about
violence.
to say, because has Tanzania released a police report that says that she was unalived?
All we know right now is all the potential reports, and we're going to leave it at that in terms of for sure. And I'm going to say this, and this is going to be, I think, helpful to answering that question when it comes to what's happening if and when people pass or something bad happens and we see a noticeable, distinct shift in how men are reacting versus women are reacting. The basic thing I'm going to show is, well, first we'll start with this. If you show open or blatant disrespect or disdain for black men in life, what do you think the feelings and reactions of those same black men will be when you're not here anymore? So this person, Arkeem, and again, what I'm about to show in these different quotes or different things, what people have got to say, it's not that me or even the panelists agree with all of this. What we're trying to acknowledge is, at best, if people perceive, accurately or inaccurately, that you don't value their humanity, at best, you're going to get apathy. They don't care. At best. That's beyond the jokes, beyond the celebrations, beyond all that other extra stuff. At best, you're going to get what's happening all through, literally in all these comments. Overwhelmingly, the majority of men are saying, it's got nothing to do with us. And that's the place that I'm worried that we're in too long when it comes to black men and black women in this space right now. Part of it may be legitimately warranted. If we are coming off or saying the most vicious, vile, nasty attacks, wishing death on each other, of course people shouldn't care about your life. That's natural. That's a human thing. So Arkeem writes, death doesn't automatically earn my respect, especially when you had none for my life while you were alive. Now, this is where I this is where I'm going to 100% not go off, but not agree with him at all with this next statement. Ashlee Janae is no different than Telbo Rackins. I don't condone the violence that took your life, but I cannot honestly support you. For the individuals that's not aware of who this gentleman was and some of the comments that he made, I couldn't even pull up a bunch of the clips. I mean, screenshots, because I didn't have time to edit them because of some of the insane, nasty, vicious stuff that this man has said about black women. Talking about, I'd rather F a dog than a black woman. So this was the mildest version of what I was able to find with this dude. So when I said before that when you're trying to compare and lump all these people in, everybody that's dating interracially don't hate themselves or even hate their race. Some people have just a general disdain. Some people have a blatant outright disrespect. And then there's some people like Rackins that will go so far as to say he'd rather sleep with an animal than a black woman. That is not Ashlee. And I don't have to feel or react or respond as if she is. These people are not the same. This young lady and this man are not the same to me. They're not. They both could have had problematic statements about their race and then in the opposite gender. Absolutely. Ones I vehemently disagree with. But we got to be careful. Even with somebody that I disagree with, and I think may have said things that cross the line, that doesn't mean she's at the level of this gentleman. Because there is degrees to quote unquote what we're talking about. And if one of these results in leaving you to be more apathetic, or the other results in you having almost like a visceral reaction to it, in the end, my view is, and this is going to be a great question that we're going to have to wrestle with at the end, what is the reactions that we're noticing that we're seeing from black men and from black women when stuff like this happens? What does this actually reveal about our character and who we are as people?
But before we answer that, and I know you want to try to follow the trying to have structure with this show, but it's just something important that I think we should address. I think we gotta draw the line somewhere. We did whenever it came to this. How do you say it? Diaspora, FBA, all this stuff. What makes a woman a black woman? Because if y'all are saying that people who have the same skin color as us is not black, but y'all are still calling this woman right here, who pretty much, what do you call it? You pretty much negated. You pretty much said that I'm not with that color. I'm not with that side, or I'm against it. How are we still calling her a black? Why are we still referring her to a black woman when all of the things that y'all are saying she stood for or she proclaimed was totally the opposite of black? Do we still claim her as a black woman just because of the color of her skin? Because that's a contradiction to who we don't claim. We don't claim the Jamaicans. We don't claim the Africans. We don't claim the Haitians as black people. But we call this woman a black woman whenever she blatantly just goes against, deviates from being black. So what are we doing? Can we draw the line, or are we gonna blur the line?
No, we can draw the line. Let me be clear. Being a foundational black American is being a foundational black American. Period, point blank. That is a lineage. You don't get to choose your lineage. If that's the case, then Rachel Dolezal would not have been ostracized. That has nothing to do with you having a Yowza Boss, Shade Tree, House Coon, Bed Wench mentality. Mentality is taught. Lineage is encoded in your bloodline and your DNA, right? Every human being who has ever walked the face of this planet can be traced to one ancestor in Africa. If that's the case, then my Vietnamese godparents that my father had on his side would be black by that definition. She is black regardless of her mindset. I'm not a particularly huge fan of Clarence Thomas, but he's black. Byron Donalds is Jamaican. You understand the difference? You can have, like, you would never go to Pakistan, even though Pakistan was chopped off from India by a border that was made by some white folks. And the Indians that went into Pakistan are now called Pakistanis. If you call a Pakistani an Indian, they're going to look at you crazy. Why? Two things: lineage and culture. Even though they're exactly the same. Haiti and the Dominican Republic are by a line, and then one it has French colonizers, the other one has Spanish colonizers. We're not going to, in any way, shape, or form, respectfully, drag foundational Black Americans who are delineating from everybody else in the diaspora from a Black woman who was indoctrinated by whomever her major influences were in life, whether that is her mama, her daddy, the television swirling, whatever the case is, as if those things are exactly the same. And those are two different lanes. We're not going to do that. We have nothing to do with that conversation, because until such time as you go to Japan and tell all of those Japanese people that they're in fact Chinese, or you go down to India and tell all the Indians that they're now Vietnamese, we're going to have to understand lineage. Yes, we're all Black, but we're all different. There's 54 countries in Africa. Out of those 54 countries, there are thousands of tribes and even more languages. So are those people wrong by saying, no, I'm not Ghanaian, I'm Nigerian, and I speak this, and I'm from this particular tribe? No, it's delineation. And if anybody has an issue with foundational Black Americans delineating, then they need to take all their Nigerian, their Cuban, their Haitian flags out of their Instagram profiles. But that has nothing to do with her mindset. We can reject the mindset and say you're ostracized from us socially, but that has absolutely nothing to do with what your lineage is.
Right.
So Darwin, just to clarify, because I wanted to throw this in there before you respond to Dave. I don't think that your Blackness goes away, and I don't think that your humanity disappears. I think the difference is what Dave is saying is the expectation of camaraderie, socialization, being able to build together, network together, and do those things, that tends to shift. That may go away because now we may perceive you as we're not on one accord. And I think, like, whether it's how we vote, how we move, who we marry, who we have sex with, that's how you differentiate and change who you think you're equally yoked with and aligned with or not. I'm not gonna do the thing that people have done to me when I decide I'm not going to be on a Democrat plantation anymore. Now I'm not Black anymore. So I'm not going to do that to her because I may disagree with some of her comments that she's made, even in reference to people that look like me and me. And as far as a category, I'm not going to do that. And so for me, I understand the need to differentiate and to distinguish. And that's why I notice when I said what type of Black woman, I didn't say this, well, half of them are Black women and the others are not. I'm saying what type of Black woman, what caliber of character are we talking about? If that makes sense.
Well, I think y'all are partially understanding where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not arguing, or I'm not trying to make a case that her Blackness goes away.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to ask the woman, do you identify as a woman or as a Black woman? And I think it was the doctor that we had on here a while ago. I think he said that a particular movement convinced Black women to identify as a woman
first
before they were a Black woman. In fact, I did a study on TikTok a week ago, and I am Black is 7 on a list. And the things that are in front of it, number 1 is I am a woman. Number 2 is feminism. Number 3 is Democrat. Number 4 is career. 5th is pro-choice. 6th is religion. And then it's I am Black. And then the last is you got pro-life, marriage, help meet, motherhood at the bottom. What I'm asking is, I'm not saying that their Blackness goes away. But if y'all are saying that we as a society can say that someone with an X and Y chromosome should be called ma'am or is a woman, but a woman who blatantly says that, hey, look, I'm against Black, I'm against that, we still need to refer to them as a Black woman. I think as society, we got some contradictions going on. If you say that you're not Black, just like somebody said that they're not a woman, why do I got to still call you a Black woman? But I got to call a man a woman? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And like I said, I'm not trying to erase or pull nobody's card. But if people are coming out here and saying that this is who I am and this is what I represent, this identify, respect who I represent and call me by that. What is wrong with that?
I hear you. I think what you're wrestling with is what to call them. But I'm just saying that what you threw out initially, that's not really on the table for me personally. It's more of a what's on the table is whether or not I can do life with you. Right. If I can build with you, if I see that we have common goals and aspirations in terms of turning things around. And if we don't, your blackness doesn't change. You being a woman doesn't change. My view of whether or not I see you as an ally and somebody I can work with does. And this is why I've tried to say as much as possible, I'm always going to focus more now on content of character and actions and behaviors over just simply she's black, so she's good to go. Because I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, we're just at a point where it's like, but even with these tough conversations, can we have the ability as men to lead in a way that many of our ladies have not been able to display and show? We got ladies in the comments right now deflecting and gaslighting and trying to move the goalposts to other stuff versus acknowledge she should still be alive. The reason why she's not being more in the way in which maybe people would wish, especially the people who know her personally, would have liked, is because of the way in which it was very clear how she felt about us. Now, the false equation that we're going to highlight right now is this. This idea that this man was anti-black women, conflating somebody correcting you, telling you what you're doing wrong, telling you what you're doing that's harming your chances in the dating market, is now anti-black women. And then you get an actual woman who actually was making statements against specifically just black men. And y'all confused at why a majority of the men are basically saying that we have no emotion here. This is what we were saying. I'm not seeing all these crazy memes yet. I don't know if people are going to make them on Ashley, and I hope they don't. But people were jumping up with joy, cheering, celebrating. I saw the t-shirts.
Right.
I saw the t-shirts. Y'all not going to make us unsee what we saw. And this wasn't some guy that was a criminal. This wasn't some guy that has some crazy record. He was giving commentary and instructions to women that were calling into him, asking for his opinion and feedback. And he's telling them what the types of men they want. And this was the reaction. My view's a simple one, ladies. Men are now waking up to more than ever before that there's an actual double standard happening. And if you notice, the marital rates are shifting. The dating pool is trash. Black men are saving themselves or dating out and doing all this other stuff. It's moments like this where if you ever got out of your damn head for a second and put your mirror up to your face and look at how women are showing up, what are they expecting when the woman is a victim and she's black from us?
They're expecting us to protect them.
Protection, vengeance, defense, you name it, covering. Y'all want a level of empathy and humanity that has disappeared for 2 decades now.
Jeff,
go ahead.
If a group of black women opt out of being with black men and they say they want to go to white men to be protected by him, do you still hold black men obligated to protect those black women?
No.
Okay, that's all I was just trying to. That's all I was just trying to understand on the protection side, because I don't even think
it changes. Not their blackness, not whether they're
right. I didn't say that blackness changes.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that. But even though they feel like, you know what I'm saying, they're not a part of black people or whatever, I don't even think they even if black men would largely say, "Hey, look, we're gonna protect these black women, even though they with white men," I would make the argument that they would laugh at that and say, "We don't need your protection." That's all I'm saying.
This is my caveat with that, because that was more of a blanket answer that I gave, and I'm going to give more nuance to it. For the women that I know personally in my life, black women especially, if she doesn't have an anti-misandrous, anti-black sentiment, I still see her as a friend and as a homegirl to me. Could be a family member that dates out. I've been to weddings of interracial couples. That doesn't move me. What I'm looking at is beyond who you're with. How do you feel about the people that you came from?
Well, yeah, if you take the misanders away from it and all that, and yeah, I agree. I'm in agreement with you.
So yeah, you in essence being with somebody that's not black. That I've been in that relationship before, so that doesn't phase. That never changed my view.
It doesn't do anything to me either.
No.
But
so
the
me,
attachment of the misandry and all that other stuff, yes.
If I see it on social media, if I see you constantly running to the nth degree to always make, when a black man's accused of something, you assume he's guilty until proven innocent. You're the loudest when it comes to black men being involved in allegations for stuff, and you go out of your way to excuse bad behavior when it comes to. I already know what type of time you on. I'm already putting distance between me and you, and my family's doing the same. That's me.
So are they asking us to protect this woman?
No. I think the concept of black women aren't protected. There's a variety of things that I think that's relating to. And some of it's actually the actual statistics. The reality is, man, and I'm gonna read this off to make sure I get it right. Black women in the US face disproportionately high homicide rates by men, particularly from acquaintances and intimate partners. And this is the case for all women, by the way, too. But the difference is, and I looked at it from 2020 to I believe 2023 or 2024, they're ranging, man, by rate is like 2.9 to 3 times the rate of white women when it comes to homicides. Okay. And obviously the overwhelming majority of black women are not in Ashlee's situation. They're not dealing with white men like that, to be fair. So most of these victims are the result of being killed by somebody that they know or are living with, primarily from gun violence. So there is a massive issue going on that the femicide, the black homicide rate, especially from black women, it is through the roof. They are literally the most unprotected women in the country. Simultaneously, what Obsidian and others have said earlier, they're also a group of women that are fighting us the most when it comes to leadership and what that protection looks like. Two things can be true. Then you have the subsets of the ladies in this space who at times are saying very nasty adversarial things about gender-based abortions, not wanting to deal with black men, white men are better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of this is simultaneously happening in real time. I understand how some men have concluded, you know what, all I can focus on is the black women that's under my roof and that I'm related to. Because I think that's what we've been reduced to as men. I've gotten reduced down. If every time I say something, Dave said it, Obsidian said, if every fucking time I say something, you decide you can't respect me, you can't listen. If I challenge you too much, you want to call your uncles, you want to call your male friends, you want to call your cousins. Every time we have a situation, you want to assume the worst. Every time a black man's involved or accused of something, we're getting police. Listen, we're getting to a point where we're at a spot where it's like, stop begging for protection if you don't respect the people you're asking it from. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. If you are in the most precarious, most vulnerable position in the country, if things are as bad as you claim it is, let's start with the caliber of men you're choosing. Because they keep saying it's often connected to who they know, somebody knowing them. And it's probably not their daddy doing it more often than not. So what's the traits and the behaviors of the type of men that you're putting yourselves in? I've seen the Pop the Balloon challenge a million times.
Huh.
Okay? What's the type of men they popping the balloon on, and what's the type of men they dropping the draws for? Let's be honest. So some of these rates are connected to your mate choice selection, and you don't want to listen to any men, let alone there's no men, period, for you to even value and listen to. And then the men that was putting you on game and trying to tell you the type of men that you claim to want when you're later and older and no more.
Mm-hmm.
When the man's telling you, like Kevin Samuels, this is the type of expectations they want. They don't do the arguing back. We had the ladies on the video earlier saying out loud, well, you know, when we get with the white men, we got to act differently. We got to behave now because we can't do what we do. Y'all know the way in which you treat your employers is better than how you treat many men in this community.
Period.
And then you talk about protection. What did Kevin say? Treat me like you treat your boss. And we got no issues. You'll get all the protection. Nobody can say nothing. Nobody can move up on you. But you don't. And a majority of you don't. And that's the problem. You want to do what you want to do. You want to be leaders. You say you want a matriarchy. You refuse all the positive aspects of the patriarchy. You say we don't need a nuclear family. Men ain't shit. Men are dogs. You're laughing and celebrating when bad things happen to black men, whether they are alive or like Jonathan Majors or dead like Kevin Samuels. We're at a strange point where now black men are now having to reduce their sphere of protection to the people who will accept it, that they actually have some semblance of control over. That's what protection is now for a lot of black men. Sorry for taking over, fellas. Dave and I'm sitting.
Yeah. Jeff, listen, man. I'm reminded of that Houston philosopher Mike Jones who said, back then hoes didn't want me. Now I'm hot hoes all on me. One of my comedy mentors is a guy named Jeff Brown. He's written for damn near everybody. And one of the things he said to me when I said to him a long time ago, nice guys finish last, he said to me the other day, he said, you know, Dave, that's not exactly the whole story. It's not that nice guys finish last, they just don't fuck first. The thing about leadership and what has happened in the community, or as Coach Greg Adams would refer to it as the community, is that there has been this thing where you have and let's keep it a buck. If we're going to talk about it, let's talk about all of it for a minute. We have had a matriarchy in the black community in America since LBJ signed what he called the N-word bill. You know, so get all the jobs out of here, destabilize the man, destabilize the house, replace it with daddy government, and now all of this comes to a screeching halt. And now we are so destabilized, we don't know whether to shit or wind our watch. So when it comes to wanting somebody to protect you, in order for a wall to do its job, you got to stand behind it. But all that back and forth, there's three places I do not go. Back and forth, round in circles, or out of my way for anybody who thinks that this is anybody else's show but mine. I am not the superhero sidekick, and too many of the folks who have had the ball for the past 60 years, and I'm not placing it all on the mamas, but let's talk about the ones who are complaining. They go and they raise the last 3 generations of beta male scent manginas to be little son husbands. And then what happens when daddy cut out? Oh, well, yeah, now you the man of the family. You 10. Your brother's 7, your other brother's 3, and you got to raise all of them. But you raise them to do all the babyface stuff, you know, all the stuff they didn't respect in the first place, because the guy that they got wasn't babyface. The guy that they got was Tupac. Hell, speaking of which, I'm from Philly. Will Smith, great guy. However, who Jada keep talking about? I met that man in 95. Pac been dead since 96. And even Willow was writing letters to dead Pac. But live Will Smith out there having to slap somebody on Oscar night. because somebody didn't realize that they were the plus one. If you are trying to be the star of the show, when you're the plus one, you're gonna have a problem. You don't see no other community where it's like, if Darwin's the president of the United States, you don't hear his wife going, "We the president." That's because leadership is respected. The problem is that's exceptional and not the rule. And I think that that's what we need to talk about. And until such time as we address the fact that you think that it's okay to raise beta male simp manginas and then go and sleep with Pookie and then come to us after you done had Pookie's litter of sea urchins and future manhole coverers and liquor store robbers, you got another thing coming. Because we have stopped that. And if that makes us misogynist, if that makes us uncaring, if that's us tearing black women down, guilty. Now what you got? Because the behavior is still there, the conditioning is still there, and there's 62 years of data that says the common denominator in all of this is
Somebody got a motorcycle outside.
It's not me. That wasn't
right outside my window here.
Why don't you have the window open? And every time it either sounds like somebody is running a race or you got warrants.
Yeah, that's how it is out here, bro.
What about you, man?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Obsidian, if you have anything.
Yeah. I mean, I've just been, as y'all was going back and forth, I was reading through everything with Grok, trying to get a better handle on this soft life divester piece. So it's got its start in the late 1990s, early 2000s. Crystalline Karazin comes into view circa 2010, thereabout, Beyond Black and White, later The Pink Pill. Started here in the United States, Black women's empowerment, dating out, etc. But then the soft life piece comes in by way of Nigeria circa 2020. That came from Africa.
Really?
And that was about Nigerian women reacting against hustle culture in Nigeria, and that they want to have a soft life. So what has happened circa 2020 is that you had this perfect storm of homegrown swirling and divesting coming together with soft life from Nigeria, hence the phrase soft life divester. So what the sisters here in the United States did, for whom it applies, is that they took the soft life imagery, aesthetics, aspiration, etc., it's glamorous life and all the rest of it. They bolted that on to black men ain't shit, therefore we must swirl. And hence now in 2026 we have the soft life divester. Very, very interesting. And Dr. Tommy Curry kind of talked about this the last time he was on the show recently. He talked about how, and he was speaking more of black feminists, how they have essentially just been aping the Ku Klux Klan and other white supremacists regarding black men. That's basically what it is.
Same talking points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's racism just warmed over. That's what it is. It's racist. And that's the reason why, I was listening to you and Dave talking. Many of these sisters, they really are whitewashed and brainwashed. They really are. They truly are. They're really jacked up. Which brings us back to Ashlee Janae. What the hell was going on in the home for her to turn out like that? What was going on?
I won't go so far.
Y'all think something got to happen in somebody's house for them to?
Yeah, for me, like, I'm not gonna speak on her mother. I'm not going to speak on her upbringing necessarily. I do tend to look at people who get to a point, regardless of where they are on the spectrum of divesting, whether it's just this ain't working out for me, I need to try something different, or I have an outright vitriol, like hatred for black men, or even worse, I want something to happen to black men. Regardless of where they are on the spectrum, 9 out of 10 times, I tend to look at their past dating track record. I look at their past relationship options and choices. And more often than not, it almost doesn't, you can listen to your mom and your dad or your people from your past and everything, but usually your most recent handful of situationships / relationships, I think, definitely impacts why it is that people make the future decisions they're going to make, way more than what happened in their childhood, to be fair. And like I said, I'm not, out of respect for her mom and whoever it is that's connected to her, I won't go into the weeds of talking about her mom's interracial relationship and all, like, because I would just leave that alone personally, and let that be how they, whatever it was that led, what she contributed or encouraged, that's for them.
No, you kind of just let that hang out there, huh?
Yeah.
What about in general? Do y'all think there's a correlation between upbringing and a woman living a soft life and divesting?
Like for me, I just think that there's multivariate factors at play. Like when we talk about nature versus nurture, people try to treat things black and white that includes color. And when you try to say it's all your upbringing, or it's all your past, or it's not, or it's just all on you, it's not about what you've been through. Like usually it's a combo of all the above. And for me, I'm going to put the greatest stock in what's the caliber of relationships and the types of caliber of men that you chose to try to do life with and it didn't work. Because to me, 9 times out of 10, when they come in a therapy session, that's what they're referencing and talking about. Then we talk about dad and his influence or lack thereof. Then we talk about any past trauma as well. And now I get a full conceptualization. I'm not going to point to mom. I'm not going to point to black men in general. I'm just going to leave it at, more often than not, these people and men and women, when they make these vicious statements about the opposite sex, they're not operating out of a vacuum. They didn't just go from being a kid, snap their finger, now they're an adult, and now they're saying this. They experienced life. They tried things. Things didn't work. They experienced rejection. They had expectations with a certain person they slept with or got pregnant by, and it didn't work. Think of the amount of abortions that our women have had. I'm shocked that more of them don't hate more of us. Think about what that means. Think about the 30 to 40 plus million abortions.
Well, to be fair, I'm glad we're on this point. To be fair, just quick a factual check. Between 1973 and 2022, there have been approximately 20 million abortions on the part of black women. Black women make up 6% of the United States female population, adult female population. They get about 5 times the number of abortions relative to their percentage in the population, which comes out to about 20 million. This is per outfits such as the Guttmacher Institute and others. So we can't lay this at the feet of Andrew Tate. Okay, just
so we stick to 20. How many of them would have loved to not have done that if they ended up with the guy that they wanted all along? And they couldn't. They didn't get it. It didn't happen. It didn't work out. He cheated. He lied. He wasn't who they thought he was. He wasn't who they tried to make him out to be. Whatever the reasons are, when you factor in the divorce rates, the actual trauma in the community on top of the abortions and everything, I get it. This is a mess. And it wasn't just the black community doing this all to ourselves. I get it. Somebody had to put the Planned Parenthoods there. Somebody had to put the government funding there. Somebody had to push a lot of these policies and infiltrate the churches. I get it all. I get it all.
The number's small, man.
I thought it was way more than that. Yeah, I thought it was way more than that personally. But he's saying 20.
No,
so
I'm not talking about the total number. I'm talking about the question. You saying how many of those women wouldn't have gotten an AB abortion if it was the guy that they really wanted to be with, or it got I think that's a very small percentage in that fraction of that number. I think
I'll
I
say
would
it.
make the argument that most of those numbers make up.
Mhm.
They didn't want to have a kid. I think the guy that they chose was the guy that they wanted to be with.
What
They
I'll
just
say,
couldn't check.
you know
They
what?
failed to
I'll word
change
it
it.
differently. I'll word it differently, just to make it plain. What they've done to their bodies and what they've done to the unborn, I think that it's changed them in terms of how they're seeing us. That plain and simple.
Yeah, and
I think,
I'll put
yeah.
I'll put a name on it. I
Okay.
call it disposable.
Mm.
They can dispose us and they can dispose our seed.
Jesus.
And if we ain't acting right and if we ain't the person that they expected us to be, or if they can't change us into the person that they want us to be, then we dispose. We're disposed and our seed is also disposed at their will.
Jesus.
I mean, it's really sobering when you consider 20 million. That's more. I mean, the Ku Klux Klan, they would have to like do that many times over.
You got a chance to survive in the Vietnam War than the womb of a black woman.
Yeah, that's more.
in that time frame.
That's more than we lost in World War II. That's more than we lost in the Civil War, which is our worst military conflict we've ever had as a country. The Civil War between the states. That's more than we've lost. Like Darwin says, Vietnam, Korea, World War I. Both Iraq wars, Desert Storm in the 1990s. Iraq war more recently, Afghanistan. I mean, it's just all the gang banging. The crack wars. I mean, you aggregate all of that, and it still pales in comparison to 20 million. I mean, to be brutally frank, black babies.
You can make the argument that black women hold the crown. Or it's the authority over population control for black people.
Yeah. More than Massa, more than Genghis Khan, more than the KKK, more than H to the Lur. But you also have to understand the propaganda that's been put on them.
Yeah.
We can't just gloss over that like it's not a thing. Like that's why I wrote about in the Real Black Agenda. It's extremely important. I'm not going to read a whole bunch on here, but I will say, that when you look at it, there are no fertility clinics in the hood. The entire black zip codes have multiple abortion providers, but not one low-cost IVF option, no culturally competent OBGYN. Let's not even get into the fact that they take the stem cells from what is then classified as medical waste when you get hooked up to the vacuum doctor. That medical waste can either be disposed of, discarded, repackaged, stripped down, and sold. The same way y'all have lived in the hood. Y'all know what a chop shop looks like. What do you think they're doing? You think these manned mission to Mars have not been prepared so that they can extract melanin, so that they can make a sunscreen out of it? Google it if you got nothing better to do. And that comes from NASA itself. That's not no conspiracy theory. Your melanin is worth more outside of the womb in that vacuum tube than it is inside. The other part of that is when you are told that abortion is healthcare, then you have to explain to black women, why is it that too many of them die on the table? They are not allowed in very many instances to get pain medication at the same level as white women, Asian women, or Hispanic women, that they die giving birth or die on the operating table. And then you say, well, because black women don't get the best health care. Well, Beyonce and Serena Williams are both billionaires, and they almost died on the table. But you stop the conversation at abortion as if that in and of itself is healthcare. And then you have the unmitigated gall to say, my body, my choice. But if that's the case, and the father didn't want the baby, because you might have poked a hole in a Jimmy hat, how come he can't say my wallet, my choice? So there's all of these things that we do not talk about that is set up in order to make sure that they make a profit, and we make sure we're at the opposite end of everybody. Them HeLa cells just don't keep regenerating themselves by accident. That's by design.
Let me ask you a question, Dave.
Sure.
If black women, being how smart they are, the most educated, got the degrees and all that other stuff, do they know, are they aware of what you just said?
First of all, let's stop that lie right here. Black women are the most enrolled. They also have the most student loan debt. They are not the most educated.
Well, I'm just talking about their claim.
No, but I know that's what their claim is.
Do you believe that they are aware of the money?
No, they're not, because that's not what Andy Cohen feeds them on Bravo. That's what not Natalie Double Chin's Nun feeds them on Zeus. Like, all of these people they're not getting that information, and they don't want to hear it because they have been told that that's all it is. Hell, they don't even know that when in Roe versus Wade, found out what was happening, and she rejected the part she played in the abortion craze. So, hey, man. Of course, they don't want to know that. See, ignorance is bliss. That's why they're so happy to do it.
If you're saying
Darwin, with your question, I think we got to stop playing naive. That these women ain't on the same internet we on.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I think what's happening is they're fully aware of what's going on, but they've been told who's to blame for it
and incentivized not to care.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, because if they're aware of this. Abortion and the what do you call it?
Maternity
rate. Yeah, that's right. Then you would think that it would show up in being more calculative whenever they begin to select who they procreate.
Why? If there's no consequences, they live their respectfully.
Right, exactly.
They live their life on easy mode. They do.
So we shouldn't expect any change unless the incentives were replaced with some type of consequence.
Absolutely. I'm with you on the. Are you about to bring up this damn thing again where you can't date a single mom?
No, I'm not. Listen, listen.
You're trying to bring it back. It sounds like you're going a long way to read that
direction.
Now, and listen, if you the fact that you brought that up tells me that you've thought about it enough to think that within this conversation that might be a particular option that can work.
No, I still think it's.
Come on, man.
I think it's hard.
Because
my whole thing is this, bro. At this age, and I'm not trying to be funny, and when I say this is no diss to Obsidian. I'm almost 50, and if I gotta constantly fight the world, fight people's perceptions, people telling me I'm doing this and I'm doing that, I'm like, I don't even know these people you saying are paying me. I'm not going to walk back in my house after completing an 11-month book tour where I barely spent 4 whole days in a row in my home for the better part of a year to come and fight with my wife and kids. I'm not doing it. If I can't change the people around me, I will change the people around me. And a lot of us won't draw that line in the sand for whatever reason. I don't know if it is the, maternal simp gene that has been activated in us. I don't know if we're too afraid of being alone and what that looks like. If we can't understand the sound of our own inner voice, I don't know if we just lucked up and finally got something and all we want to do is hang on to it. But I need cooperation. And if I can't get it, I'm going to go get it. Most of us won't come from that place because simping has been rewarded with good dog. Good dog. Let me give you some coochie cookies. Coochie cookies to the average black man in America is like Roland Martin the butter biscuits, but I digress.
Man, I'm going to ask y'all a final few questions. The initial point that I want to make is for us to kind of reflect, and for the audience, I think, to reflect on what this reveals about us, our bias, and who we do or don't value in this community. Before I even ask the initial question, this point I was going to make is, I think what's happening, especially when we've seen the noticeable gap in how a lot of our women are reacting and responding whenever they're seeing something happen to a black man involved in an interracial situation, in contrast to this situation where I think overwhelmingly the reaction and response is probably more apathy, or most black men didn't even know who she was, to be fair. I think what's happening is there is a conflation going on where black women are not wanting to distinguish legitimate critique versus misogyny. They're saying those are one and the same. If every man and every person that says something about what's happening in the community and what our black women are doing that's not positive or even causing harm to themselves or harm to the community collectively, you're treating that as misogyny. You've basically made it known, and we all can tell, can't nobody tell y'all shit. That's what that means. You've now conflated all forms of legitimate critique so that only panderers can get through and women who keep you single lying. You have a role to play in what's going on, and it ain't all on you. I would even argue it's not all on just the community. Like Dave said, there's a whole lot of factors at play that's gotten us to this point. But if can't nobody tell you nothing and you've now conflated, you say something about blacks because you hate us, it's because you're misogynist, because all the go through all the whole list of all of that, fine. But once you, from this day forward, once you, and I'm saying this to every single man that's listening to this, if you hear a woman, when you try to correct her or let her know what she's doing is a problem, hurting herself, putting herself at risk, and she starts using those talking points, leave her alone. Like Darwin said, she's not ours. Period. So the initial question I want to ask y'all, man, is our view of a person's humanity hinged on who they date or who they vote for? Because I'm going to answer straight for me, it's not. But I have a strange feeling.
You have to explain that because
I'll say
date,
yeah, go
who
ahead.
you date, who you vote for, who you procreate with, has a lot to say about. It has a significant impact on humanity, I believe.
I'll say this. I'll say this, and I'll answer for me, and then I'll let you expound on that,
Go ahead.
how you see fit. In and of itself, no. I'll have to look at your character beyond that. I have to look at what else you're doing and what else the person you're connected to is doing to decide then and there how I'm going to judge you. Because this whole concept of he's a good guy because he's with a black woman, that doesn't mean anything if he's an asshole, if he beats on her. Right? So I'm looking way past, is she black or not? And I'm looking at how are you treating the black woman that you are responsible for. Okay. So for me, I notice in these conversations, when I look at the threads, when I see the comments, when I see reaction videos, there's a lot of people who struggle with seeing the humanity in somebody based off of who's the person that they were in a relationship with. They don't even know anything about the person. Oh, he was with a white woman. He deserved it. That's what you get dealing with them white people. And I'm like, we kill each other more than anybody else. And God forbid somebody actually use logic and statistics and say, that's what happened when you're dealing with a black man. That's what the stats say. That sounds crazy. So I'm going to be the person that says, for me in the panel, I'm going to look a little bit past simply if you gay or straight, and if the person is black or white or something in between. I'm going to look a little bit beyond just that to make a determination on who I think you are as a person, personally.
And when you say humanity, how are we understanding that term? Not just the blatant definition, just the context you're using it in, just so I can prepare my answer for it.
I'll say that it's twofold. One is, are you cheering? And are you happy? Are you happy that Ashlee is dead? Because if you are, I think you've lost an aspect of your own humanity when you can't see hers. Sorry.
I agree.
So it sounds like when you say humanity, you mean like having morals or courtesy, you know what I'm saying? Outside of judging them for their actions or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in that case, then yeah, I mean, and that's why I think I led into this conversation that, you know, my condolences for. We don't want to see anybody pass away, regardless of things. As they say, you know, life is you don't get that back. You know, you can go make a crime, you can go commit a crime, you can go do something wrong, you punch somebody, you can apologize. But once you're gone, you're gone. So I don't have when we're looking at life itself, I don't look at the things, the actions they, I don't look at the decisions they made and all of that stuff. That's a life lost.
Yeah.
Sort of like whenever I look at athletes, people say, "Oh, he's trash because the way he dressed whenever he, get ready to go to the game or something." But the guy's putting up triple doubles every night. I could care less about how he's dressed.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm there to enjoy, his performance. So, as far as life, I'm not going to say it's short. People say you live a short life, but you only get one shot at it. You know what I'm saying? We can argue the statements. You know what I'm saying, that she made. We can go against that. We can address that, our opinions on that, how it was wrong. But being happy that she's passed away, that's a totally different, that ain't even got nothing to do with her statements.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? That's her life is gone. She could have, for God knows, 5 years from now, she could have turned over a new leaf and maybe came back and apologized. She didn't have the chance to do that. We've seen it. We've seen people. We've seen people change. We've seen people change. We've seen people apologize. How do we know that this person may not have done that in terms of what we're addressing as far as her statements? To try to attach that to her losing her life. I think the issues that we have with her from our perspective is separated from her losing her life.
Correct.
And I think we came into this the right way, man. We show much respect for her and her family and all that. And we just address specifically the disagreement and, her tone against other people and the space and Black men in general. And I think that's what we intended to do. But we also wanted to shed light on how people are trying to conflate it in a way that where like maybe she deserved it, which is wrong, which I think that's cruel.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna yield to Dave because it looked like he got something to say.
I think it's important for us to understand that nobody, at least nobody on this dais, is sitting around tap dancing on this young lady's grave. That's insane. I think that behavior is completely reprehensible and immoral. I also don't think any of us are going to print out any t-shirts about that young lady being gone. You want to know why? 2 reasons. Number one, because we have a soul. And number two, we couldn't even, if we were as deplorable and reprehensible as what some of these people did when KS died, we wouldn't be able to walk down the street without being shamed as if we were in Game of Thrones and they're throwing things at us. Let's just keep it a buck. The other thing, and this is what I want people to understand. The dominant society does not need to exert so-called white supremacy over you when you are already doing a phenomenal job of it yourself. When it comes to us unaliving each other, that is a matter of proximity and a matter of a lack of resources. Jeff, when is the last time you robbed somebody?
Never.
Obsidian?
Same here.
Darwin?
If I want to be honest, you know what? I can't do that because I think that case is still open. So
okay, well, never mind. But aside from Darwin's thug ass, the majority of us are not robbing people, unlike Thugnificent over here, because we have resources. Where there are resources, there is provision. Where there's provision, there is food. There are things happening and people have things to do. When you don't have things to do, you will find something to do. And if you're starving or you're thirsty enough, you'll drink motor oil in the desert. What has happened is we have replaced love, family, companionship, morals, a nuclear family, growth, and having peace, real peace, where we're not going from pillar to post or check to check in order to survive, all while feeding that drug addicted dopamine hit on our timeline where we go, clock it, clock it, I got myself a white man, clock it, go get you one, clock it. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. And sometimes if you wind a clock or a watch too tight, your time will be up. And that is not to talk about that young lady, that is a cautionary tale for all people involved, male and female. We've got to start looking at things more rationally and objectively. But keep on going, sprinkle, while people are getting tidal waves of your money for believing that BS. Keep on talking about misogyny and misandry while talking about the patriarchy when you haven't lived in one in your grandmother's lifetime. Keep on talking about how black men are the white people of black people, even though black men do not have a system by which to oppress you. We barely have a system by which to survive. Keep on talking all that nonsense. And then when you look up after crying wolf and misogyny for so long, and there's nobody there to help you, don't be surprised when you hear somebody in the distance with bass in their voice and soul in their heart say, "You said you were strong and independent. Figure it out, baddie." And I digress on that.
Good Obsidian.
Dave is always a tough act to follow. Yeah. I'm still kind of grieving Kevin's loss. I'm still grieving that. You know, I wrote this book in part. I didn't set out to write this book because of that. I set out to kind of put into written form what Kevin was doing, so people stopped getting it twisted on TikTok. You know, the kind of telephone game thing. But after he had passed, it really turned out being a way for me to kind of work through my grief. And I'm still working through that. I've talked to my lady friend about it, which I rarely do. I've talked to some other people about it privately. I really have to work really hard not to allow myself to kind of slip into a vengeful place. And I'm working very hard to keep the late Ashlee Janae's humanity front and center here. That really did something, man. I mean, because I love Kevin. We all did.
Yes.
And it's one thing to have debate, you know, and spirited debate, and you know, good people can disagree, but when it's slipped into what we all saw, that I'm not gonna hold you, man. That really did something to me, man. That really did something to me, and I had to work very hard not to let myself kind of slip in the darkness with that. So,
were you shocked whenever you saw what was happening? Whenever they were talking bad about him, like, is it a part of you that was like, you know what, kind of expected that?
Yeah, and I'm thinking about, and I'm not going to say any names here because I don't want to get Jeff in trouble. There were actors on the other side, the divester side, the feminist side, who made jokes about Kevin, who said it was an act of karma, who said he kind of got what he deserved, et cetera, et cetera. And these same, I just got finished watching on YouTube, on Facebook, one of these individuals, who I will not name here. We'll talk about it in the back channel. She is saying that black men's reaction to the late Miss Ashlee Janae invoking what happened with Kevin is stupid. And I'm sitting there fuming because she was one of the main ones leading the charge in tinkling on the brother's grave. I got a card I don't know what I did with it. Hold on. A couple months back, I got a card from Kevin's mother. That woman got wind of her only child, her only son, being deceased by way of internet chatter, wherein there were women like the one that I just mentioned, who I will not name here, dancing on his grave. Okay? I don't even know what to say to that. And we have this situation here. I don't want to say it's a cautionary tale. I don't want to go that far. I can understand so many brothers hitting me up in the past few days because I feel the same way. And I remember Bell Hooks, the famous Black feminist writer, scholar, passing away. And I have a lot of areas of disagreement with Bell Hooks. I do. But I felt it was not the right time to go into that right there. I said, this isn't the right time. The right thing to do, just, pipe down. The people who loved her, respected her, let them have that time to grieve. I am very proud of the fact that the Black manosphere writ large kind of followed my lead on that. We all kind of just let sleeping dogs lie. But I got to tell you, man,
it's tough.
It's a lot to kind of take the high road on this. It's a lot in light of what happened to our brother Kevin, man. It's a lot. It's asking a lot, man. I mean, we already know the record with Miss Ashlee Janae, 11 years worth of posts, man. There are people on that side of the fence. The things that they have said about Black men, many of them have said about my brother Kevin. It just, man, it's some nasty work, brother. It's some nasty work. Oh. My God, it's some nasty work.
So I think we have enough to expect that if any of us, if anybody, any Black man or whatever that try to be moral or try to be forthright and trying to get things in order, holding both sides accountable or anything like that, not necessarily pandering. If anything happened to you, man, if you go through a rough patch, if it get out there that you're suffering or things not going your way, just expect it. Don't be surprised by it. It sucks, but that's the game. We don't make the rules. It ain't really nothing we can do about it. But just expect it. And my grandmother used to say, pray for your enemies. Because we all gonna go to judgment. You know what I'm saying? And all of us are gonna want mercy. All of us is nobody without sin, but just pray for them. That she would always say that. I don't know why she said it, but she'd always say, pray for them. And when the woman across the street called her a bitch, excuse my language. My grandmother used to say, God bless you. That woman was just cussing my grandmother out. She said, God bless you. God bless you. And walking to the house. Maybe that's what we gotta do. Maybe we gotta pray for these hoes. I mean, for these people. Excuse me.
I'm gonna say this to kind of close things out based off of everything you guys shared today, and I really appreciate you guys doing this panel tonight. I've listened and reflected on a lot of this stuff, and the two takeaways for me I'm realizing now is divesting is a form of white supremacy, and number two, cheering and celebrating the death of Black men and Black women is a form of anti-Blackness. And it's time to acknowledge that. If you find glee in cheering in moments like this, now and before, you're beholden to an anti-Black mentality. And what grieves my soul more than even the situation is knowing that the sheer amount of people that think this way and feel this way has resulted in gender-based abortions. And saying, oh, it's not about going and finding other black men around the world. No, we don't want to deal with black men at all. So this is it's an unfortunate lesson. But I think our conversation is maybe hopefully planted some seeds for people that may be in that camp to at least reevaluate. Because I know when you're in an echo chamber, when you're in a bumble, it's very hard to hear information that goes completely counter to it. It's like people who identify as feminists. The moment somebody says, "Oh, I have some criticisms of feminism," they like, "What do you mean? Feminism is amazing." Like, there's flaws with it. There's flaws with the divester approach, and these things are not comparable. They're not equal. And my hope is that for the ladies who can only see and understand and recognize and see other women as victims and see their humanity, I promise you, ladies, that if y'all got better in this area and prioritize trying to see the humanity in the men that you've long forgotten what that looks like in them, you may see a shift in men wanting to engage with you again. But at best, if y'all gonna keep moving the way y'all moving and treating your bosses and white men better, black men are going to be beholden to focusing primarily on protecting their own, and you're on your own. That's what I've kind of learned and observed. So fellas, do you have any closing words as we kind of wrap things up?
I want to thank you for having a very sober and mature discussion. Probably the most sober and mature that we're going to find online, to tell you the truth. Probably. Well, thank you for that. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be here with my brothers. I really thank everybody for tuning in. I got about 50 copies left of this. So if anybody wants them, know how to get a hold of me. Cash App, $ Obsidian Radio. Got copies of the Red Book too. So if anybody wants to grab that, you can kind of see what I was saying that kind of led up to where we are in this particular moment. I talked about this 4 years ago. So Kevin, I remember Kevin telling me one day, we was talking, and he said that the black manosphere is about 5 to 10 years ahead of everybody else. And I've seen that to be the case consistently since he told me that, and that was about 5 years ago. So
here we go.
Nah, he ain't say nothing crazy this time. Shout out to Lemmy.
Yeah, no, shout out to Lemmy. I appreciate that, brother.
Appreciate that, Lemmy.
Yeah, real quick, in case y'all don't know, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we do Dave Anderson Morning News on my channel, which is youtube.com/The Business Bully. You just search Dave Anderson Morning News, it'll pop up. I wanted to make this announcement on the men's table because a lot of people don't know that I'm making music again, and my latest song is out. Well, it's going to be out next week, but I've played it on Dave Anderson Morning News. It's a dedicated song to Roland Martin, and it's called iPad Cheeks. I don't understand why y'all are acting like this. This is, when I tell you this is the bop of the summer, when I tell you right now, if you become a member on of Dave Anderson Morning News, we've got all different types of levels starting at like $2. You can hear and see the video for iPad Cheeks. When I tell you, I put a lot of work into this song. Y'all gonna like this song. I'm rapping and I'm singing.
iPad Cheeks.
It's called iPad Cheeks because my whole thing is you're not gonna sit up here and call me a bit dumbass and not address the fact that you had cheeks on your iPad. He was watching
Roland Martin gonna come. Roland Martin gonna come for you.
Roland gonna come for you, bro. Roland.
He hasn't come for anybody in years except for men, so that's not surprising. Anyway, you slice it.
Hey, these gonna be closing words, closing remarks.
No, I'm my album. My album is coming out May 1st, but I just want to let you know the single is available for those people who become members of Dave Anderson Morning News, and the single happens to be called iPad Cheeks. It is the bop of the summer you didn't even know you needed. Trust me. Listen to watch the people in the chat, Jeff. Look what they say. It's a banger.
Obsidian, any closing remarks, brother?
I don't want to hear about
yeah. I think on that note, we'll close out. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. God willing, and the creek don't rise. Listen, please support the show. I'm not going to go into it here, but there are a lot of we brothers have gone to great lengths. I'll put it that way to bring this production to you. We work very hard to bring up topics that are not just clickbaity, but or outrage, but try to be thoughtful and try to be sober and judicious, to try to show a face of the Black manosphere that can be mature and fair and balanced. And it comes at great cost to myself, Darwin, Dave, and Jeff in ways that I won't go into right now. But it's not easy. And it does cost. There is a cost associated with it. I hope nobody minds my saying this right now. We do have aspirations to do live in-person tapings of the show here. We would like to get guests to join us live, in a studio setting. We've kicked the ball around this privately behind the scenes, but the plain truth of the matter is that it does cost to do that, and it's very important that you keep your contributions coming in, that you purchase the products that all of us have to offer, consultations, books, etc., so we can continue to do this. There have been, and I don't want to sound like I got a tinfoil hat on my head, but there have been attempts to silence us. There have been attempts to deplatform us. There have been attempts to censor us. There have been attempts to hurt us financially. We have all made great sacrifices to do this. We enjoy it, but it does come at a cost. And we rely on you to keep this going. If you like what it is that we're doing, this is our 7th outing now, officially under the Men's Table flag, if you will, or banner, if you will. This is our 7th outing. If you would like to see 7 more and 7 more on top of that, please hit that Super Chat, Cash App. Please buy our products. Those things keep us going. The stuff that we talk about behind the scenes, man, my God. So yeah, that's what I would say in closing. We bring this production. This production is possible, is made possible because of all of you. And please continue to support us. I really appreciate that.
All right, what about you, Darwin?
Again, prayers go out to not only family of Ashlee, everybody that up till today, April 15th, including my brother James, Jeff St. James, everybody who lost a relative, a child, whatever. We got soldiers fighting wars and stuff, man. Like, may God keep their spirit and comfort their family members. That's all I can say. Prayers going up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So everybody, thank you all for tuning in. All that we ask is that on our respective platforms that you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. That you like this particular video. Definitely hype it up. Whatever you catch it or see it on whichever platform. And last but not least, guys, that you share it with 2, 3, 4, even 5 people. And thanks everybody that's been supporting the brand, the channel, and like Obsidian said, man, we got some big goals for later this year with regards to this platform and what we're trying to turn it into. And we'll let y'all know pretty soon what we're going to need from you. But stay tuned for that. But listen, y'all, it's late. So everybody who's watching tonight, thank you all for tuning in. I'm very excited to see what's the total amount of people that's probably tuned in. And we hope that we handled this situation, this delicate situation, fairly, honestly. You know, it wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to be something that we can just kind of skirt over. And if we were going to address it, I felt like we addressed it pretty well. So, you know, I appreciate you guys for this, and thank you to everybody that's tuned in. And we'll see y'all on the other side, and see y'all next week. Peace.